G'day to everyone, and this is the Upland Consulting Zoom Room, and our guest in the Zoom Room today is Bernadette Durrell from Amalfi Coaching. Bernadette, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ian, and welcome. I'm happy to have you in my Zoom room here in National.
Yes, good. Yeah, this has literally been the Zoom room for the past few weeks, this home office of mine. So Bernadette, you have a business called Amalfi Coaching.
That's right, yes.
It's been going for some years now.
It has, yes. Been going since 2013.
Yeah, okay, 7 years. We'll get on to what that business is about, but I guess I'm curious first, what's the connection with the Amalfi Coast?
So my husband and I undertook a walk on the Camino de Santiago, year of our 25th wedding anniversary, and having managed the 700-odd K walk, we decided we should treat ourselves, and so we treated ourselves by taking a visit to the Amalfi Coast and staying at beautiful Positano. Okay. So when I was looking for a name to inspire me that would have some relevance, Amalfi was what we settled on, and coaching describes what I do. Now, some people do think it's a coach service, but no, we don't do bus trips yet.
No, right, okay, the other sort of coaching. Oh, that's good actually, because I think it's very important to have those kind of touchstones, isn't it? The place that we can refer back to as it was happy, it was positive, it was building us up. Yeah.
Exactly. Helps focus, as you say. Yep.
Okay. So let's get on to what Amalfi Coaching actually does. Coaching is a many splendid thing. So what's your particular approach?
Okay. So you're right. I mean, coaching really is a practice and a strategy, I suppose, to try and assist people with development. So my focus really started off in the leadership space, drawing on, I suppose, the years of experience that I've had predominantly in the health industry, but across many sectors within the health industry. And one of the things I'd observed, I guess, was that particularly for new leaders and those who are transitioning from being perhaps in the service delivery role to then transition to a management role, many people struggled there. And so my leadership approach really was to try and support people as they make that transition to that new style of management and leadership, because obviously there's different skills and tasks that you have to learn and adapt to. And then over the years it's evolved. I work with business leaders, develop training programs, deliver workshops, and more recently, I suppose, my focus has been on looking at the well-being of leaders and thinking about, we can be fantastic leaders, and particularly in this time of COVID-19, where there has been lots of pressure, lots of focus on how do we support people, particularly if we're working remotely. The impact on everyone, but I think especially leaders in organisations, has been tremendous. And as I said, I've been looking at this new tool called the Global Leadership Wellbeing Survey that actually assists people to think about how can they balance, I suppose, the different balls that they're juggling in the air. From an awareness perspective, I don't think there's a perfect balance, but to understand the challenges and the resources and how they can best utilise those. So that's where my business has taken a slightly different path, I suppose, of recent times.
Yeah, I love the way that businesses that people regard as a practice do evolve and they change, and we explore paths and we find new ways of contributing. That's great. Yeah. So Bernadette, thanks for that. And I really do find it fascinating the way that particularly those of us who regard our business, our work as a practice, find different paths and explore different areas and different ways to contribute. I just want to come back briefly to this question that you started with Amalfi Coaching, this matter of people transitioning from being the worker doing the work to being the manager managing the people who do the work. That was one of the big transitions in my own career, and it does involve a very thorough shift in mindset, priorities, the way you deal with people. And I think we have all seen far too many people just thrown in at the deep end in that management job without any support. So could you talk a bit about what you were doing there, supporting that transition?
So I suppose as a coach, you're there to sort of help the person that you're coaching and supporting find some resources. It's also, I guess, a safe space where they can ask some of those questions that they might be feeling uncomfortable asking of other people. And as a coach, as an independent person, you can explore those with them in a way that they may not feel comfortable elsewhere. They can be vulnerable, knowing that that vulnerability will be held for them in that space. And there's no right or wrong. It is about an exploration. There may be at times a point where you're also a mentor, so you actually share of your experience and skills. But really, it's about allowing them to sort of say what they're struggling with, and then help them to navigate their way and find some resources either from outside or within their organisation. And that, I think, is where the value of that work comes from. Because you're quite right, it's very challenging. It's one of the things similar to yourself that I found, and that's probably what drove my desire to actually focus on that from a coaching perspective.
Very important work. So you're now, I guess, exploring a slightly different channel, moving in a somewhat different direction with the Global Leadership Wellbeing Survey, an instrument that you use now. I'm guessing that is a bit about our responsibility as leaders to nurture and care for ourselves so that we have the ability to support those around us. Is that where that's coming from?
Absolutely. Yes. You know, often as leaders we get on a bit of a treadmill, and we may find that particularly work may become all-consuming, and we can feel, I suppose, particularly conflicted about what impact that is having. But you're absolutely right. It's about the leaders modelling behaviours and approaches that then flow down to the rest of their team. And so having that sense of calmness, that sense of responsibility in making decision making about where you channel your time, your energy, can be so important. You know, I think particularly, as I said, in the current climate where there's been a lot of working from home, for some people, and I think, Iain, you commented on a post where some employers were perhaps being very conscious and monitoring the time that their employees were spending online at home. I think really what we want people to do is to feel empowered, to feel that they can make some choices about where they spend their energy and their time. And I think this tool helps them to understand that they do have choices and they can make some conscious decisions about what they do, so that they are delivering and role modelling the best behaviours for their staff.
Yeah, sure. And the survey itself, where was it developed? Where does it come from?
It was actually developed by two organisational psychologists based here in Australia. Okay. Both of them are from Scotland, but they've actually been working here in Australia for many, many years. And so they've actually developed that tool themselves, and it's evolving. And so it's widely tested, and they're constantly looking at how they can improve it. So that's very exciting to actually have an Australian developed tool that can be utilised. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's very impressive. And I guess in this country, we've probably always had a fair proportion of remote working going on. We've never had the really big concentrations of commerce like the City of London or New York. And we've always had people in outstations and branch offices and, you know, boundary riding, either literally or figuratively. So I guess it fits well that this work comes out of the Australian work environment.
Yes, exactly. And the two psychologists were Audrey McGibbon and Karen Gillespie. So I guess their own experience working with corporate entities, they really were seeing the pressures that leaders were under, and thought, well, you know, within their own lives, busy lives, they were looking at, well, how can we actually, you know, assist in this space? So I think that's often where a lot of work, a lot of powerful stuff comes from, is reflecting on our own experiences, and how can we maybe choose to make things better, and you know, channel that energy in a way that creates something that can be useful for other people.
Yeah, sure. So we've been talking about, I guess, a fairly corporate context. Does this also apply in the small and medium business market that we have in the Southwest?
It actually does, yes. So the tool is for leaders, but certainly in that small medium enterprise, there's scope to do that, because obviously in small business, that level of overwhelm and trying to get a business off the ground, as well as manage, you know, your personal lives, that all brings some of those challenges. And I know many of the people I've worked with do experience that overwhelm, and that's often why they come to see me. You know, I'm trying to get this, you know, I want to invest time here, I want to invest time in my family, and I just don't seem to be managing that particularly well. So yeah, that's often one of the primary reasons clients come to see me.
Yes, sure. And tell me how you use the survey in your practice as a coach.
Yeah, so what we do is, obviously they undertake the survey, and then we have a debrief session where we go through the results of the report. It is a self-reflective tool, and then what we do is, with the client, identify, well, what are the areas they really want to focus on. So it provides us, I guess, the framework in which to engage with coaching. Now, sometimes that's a one-off visit, and we can focus on one area, but usually people choose to actually engage over a period of time. And obviously, like most sort of goals of coaching, we establish what they want to achieve at the end of it, and then use that to sort of frame the conversation, provide the appropriate resources, enable people to research and really explore what it is that they want to do differently. So, you know, it covers physical, it covers emotional, it covers relationships, 6 domains that it covers. And some people want to do something in every space, other people just want to focus in one space. So yeah, so again, as I say, I suppose it provides a framework for the conversation that people want to explore with a coach.
Sure. Yeah, no, that sounds very worthwhile. I'm thinking as you speak of my experiences many years ago in an industry that was known for pretty brutal timeframes, and that often led to a pretty brutal workplace culture as well. And we actually had at least one suicide from just too much pressure and too many harsh words and too much neglect of the well-being.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what this tool helps people to identify, and it can be used with teams as well, precisely for those sorts of things you mentioned, you know, looking at the workplace culture. And often, you know, leaders particularly may not be aware that they're having this impact on their employees, because, you know, they may well be very driven, and so they're focused on their goals, they're doing what they're doing, and may have quite a, you know, prodigious output, and don't understand the impact that has. So, you know, if it's a team tool that we're using, then people are exposed to that feedback, and they can perhaps review how things are perhaps going in their business and make some changes. So yeah, it's interesting. The tool's been used with some partners in a legal firm. And if you've done work with legal firms, then you know the timeframes, the pressures there. And it gave some of those partners real insight into, you know, what were they focused on, what were they working on, and, you know, how could they actually continue to achieve the goals that they want to achieve, but in a way that wasn't having the sort of the significant impacts on their well-being and mental health, all those sorts of things. No,
that sounds very worthwhile and very important. And yes, notoriously, law firms, particularly the big ones, tend to drain the blood of their employees, don't they?
Yes, I have a daughter who's a law graduate, so yes, I've seen some of the impact. Yeah.
Sure. Well, look, that's really interesting, Bernadette. Thank you very much for telling us about it. So would I be right in thinking that if someone was to approach you now with some issues where they decided they want some coaching, you'd basically start from that well-being perspective?
Yes.
Work with them from that point. Would that be the approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's very appropriate, because so often we neglect the whole human dimension through focusing on profit and building the business and winning the next client and all of those imperatives.
You know, having obviously, as part of when you're using a tool, you like to use it for yourself, and it certainly gave me some insights about where I needed to focus my time and energy, particularly within my business. So yes, I think it's a good starting point for people to think about.
Good. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, but is there anything in particular you would want to talk about, or you'd want to say to our audience to leave them with?
I suppose there's some. I think there's always an opportunity for growth and development, and I guess one of the things I share with my coaching clients is, you know, and it is a cliche, we're on a journey, I know, but no matter where you are in life, you always can make the choice to actually look for opportunities to increase your understanding, to actually broaden your level of awareness, whether that be through reading, through engaging with consultants, or, you know, just looking at videos. We've got such a big world now that we can actually expand our thinking and our views. So I really think you know, that would be my parting comment, I suppose, is be open to new things, and never think that you're too old or have had so much experience that you can't actually learn and grow and develop.
I must say I totally agree with you. One of our methods at Upland is what we call the 4 truths of business growth. And the fourth of those is personal growth and business growth go hand in hand. You're not going to get the one without the other.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right that we have an unprecedented wealth of resources to nurture that personal growth. If we're wise about what we feed our heads, then there's a great wealth of books, videos, seminars, gurus and coaches. It's a wonderfully rich time from that point of view.
Yeah, exactly. And I think your point there, it is, you do have to be a little bit careful about what you expose yourself to, but, you know, even exposing yourself to some of those perhaps alternative views or different views, if you apply that critical thinking, I think, approach to it as well, you can still learn even if you don't necessarily agree.
Yes, totally. So Bernadette, thank you again very much for joining us in the Zoom room. If people want to contact you and find out more about your coaching services, what's the best way?
So probably they can phone me, 0410 222 309, or they can email me at bernadette.durrell@amalficoaching.com.au. But just look me up on Facebook or through my webpage.
Yep. The great social media connection.
Absolutely.
That's also enriched our lives.
Definitely.
Good. Bernadette, thanks again for joining us in the Zoom room, and have a great day.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you for the opportunity, and you have a fantastic day.
Thank you.